Hello everyone and welcome to this series called 10 a day, wherein I will be discussing 10 very nice interesting questions that will help you get better in terms of concepts, and you will also be able to apply these concepts when you come across slightly more difficult questions when you take mocks or the actual test. So in this video I am going to be discussing 10 questions from the topic of averages. What you are expected to do is pause the video whenever you see a question and try that question out on your own. And then I would want you to put in the comment section how much time did you take to solve each question or all the questions in total. The recommended time for these 10 questions is going to be somewhere around 20 to 22 minutes. So make sure that you are solving them as fast as you can, and then you can have a look at the individual solutions that will follow. Do let me know in the comment section what do you think about this particular series or this set of questions, and I'm sure you are going to benefit a lot going forward. Let's look at this question. The average marks of the girls in a class is equal to the number of boys. So average marks of the girls is equal to the number of boys, and the average marks of boys is equal to the number of girls. So there are two parameters here. One is of course in terms of gender. We have girls and boys that we have, and then there is a certain number of girls that are present. There is a certain number of boys that are present, and we also know the average marks. So let's say for example there are X girls that are present. So what does it tell us about the number of boys? If there are X girls, then the average marks of boys is also going to be X. And the average marks of boys or the average marks of girls in a class is equal to the number of boys. So if the number of boys is Y, then the average also becomes Y. So this is what has been given to us. If the class average is 4 less than the average of both the boys and girls average marks, which of the following could be the number of students in the class? This is the key word here, could be the number of students in the class. Now what do we know here? If the class average, what is the class average? Total number of marks scored by the girls and boys together divided by the number of boys and girls that exist. So total number of marks scored by the girls is going to be X into Y. The total number of marks scored by boys is going to be Y into X, or again I can say X into Y. The total number of students is going to be X plus Y. So this is the average of the class. The class average is 4 less. Is 4 less, meaning that I am going to say that this is going to be equal to plus 4, right? So class average plus 4 is going to give us the average of both the boys and girls average marks. So we have to find the average of the boys and girls average marks. Average marks of girls is Y, average marks of boys is X, and because there are two categories here, I will simply do Y plus X divided by 2. That is what I'm going to get. I need to figure out what is the number of students in the class. The number of students is going to be X plus Y. So in this particular case, if I just simplify things, I'm going to get 2XY plus 4X plus 4Y divided by X plus Y is going to be equal to X plus Y divided by 2. It's the same thing I've written, just that I have condensed a few things here and there. Now if I add, or if I just cross multiply things, I'm going to get 4 times XY plus 4 into 2, that is 8X, plus 4 into 2, that is 8Y, will be equal to X plus Y the whole square, which is going to be X square plus 2XY plus Y square. Now if I just take this term here, what am I going to get? X square minus 2XY, because 2XY minus 4XY is going to give us minus 2XY, plus Y square is going to be equal to 8X plus 8Y. Therefore, I will be able to say that X minus Y the whole square, because this is nothing but X minus Y the whole square, this is going to be equal to 8 times X plus Y. Now I know that the number of students in this class is going to be given by X plus Y. So 8 times the number of students has to be a perfect square, and we have to figure out which of the following could be the number of students in the class. So I just have to multiply each of these by 8 and figure out whether it's going to be a perfect square or not. If it is a perfect square, then our answer stands. If not, then that cannot be our answer. Now 24 into 8, you need not even multiply it and see, because you know that there is only one 3 that is present in 24 and 8 does not have any 3. There is no way this could be a perfect square. So option A is not my answer. 48 into 8 again suffers from the same problem. I'm not even counting 2's here. I'm just saying 48 has a 3. Now there has to be 2 copies of 3 for this number to be a perfect square, but there aren't. So this is not a perfect square. 50 into 8. Now 50 has 2 5's and 1 2. 8 has 3 2's. So in total, if you look at it, or even if you just multiply it, you will see that 50 into 8 is 400. So this should be our answer. 64 into 8, again if you look at it, 64 by itself is a perfect square, but 8 is not a perfect square, so that will not be our answer. So the correct answer here is going to be option C, that is 50, which could be the number of students in the class. Now if you look at this particular question, take some time to solve this. Maybe you can refer to the previous answer as well, and you should be able to get the answer to this question very easily. Now if you look at the data from the previous question, we had figured out that x minus y the whole square would have been equal to 8 into x plus y. This is what was known to us. Now we have to figure out what can be the minimum number of students in the class. So we found out that okay, there existed one particular thing which could have been our answer, but here we have to find the minimum number of students in the class. Now 0 is something that has been given to us. If the number of students is 0, x plus y becomes 0, then x minus y can become 0, so that is fine. But here we are talking about the class average is 4 less than the average of both the boys and the girls average marks. We cannot have everything equal to 0, and because of that this is not our answer for sure. What if 2 is something that we insert here? Now if you insert 2 here, you will get 8 into 2, that is 16. So 8 2s are 16 is what we are going to get, which is of course a perfect square, and in which case I am going to get x minus y equals 4. But just listen to this, x minus y equals 4 and x plus y equals 2. Now x plus y is the addition of two positive numbers, and x minus y is the difference between two positive numbers. The sum of two positive numbers should always be greater than the difference between two positive numbers, and that is why this will not work, because if you just solve these two equations simultaneously, you are going to get x plus y equals 2 and x minus y equals 4. If you add both of them, you are going to get the value of x equals 3. But then what happens? The value of y becomes minus 1, which cannot be, which is not possible. So x equal to 3, y equal to minus 1 is not going to be possible, because of which 2 will not be my answer. What if the number of people or number of students in the class is 8? 8 8s are 64. Again, this makes sense. It is a perfect square. In this case, I am going to get x minus y equals 8 and x plus y equals 8. If I am getting x plus y equals 8 and x minus y equals 8, I am able to say that the value of x will be equal to 8 and the value of y will be equal to 0. But what will happen in this particular case? We have said that if you look at the number of girls, that is given by x, and the number of boys is given by y. So we can say that there are 8 girls that are present in this particular class, and there are 0 boys that are present in this particular class, which means that the average score of the girls is 0 and the average score of the boys is equal to 8. Now the class average in this particular case is going to be equal to 0. It is 4 less than the average of both the boys and the girls that we have here, 0 and 8. And that is basically where we figure out that okay, there are 0 boys or 0 girls in this particular class, but again there have to be some boys or girls in this class, so this cannot be our answer. So the answer here is going to be none of these. Now what if there were no options available? What would we have done here? We know that it has to be a multiple of 8, and then also it has to be a perfect square. Now I know that 8 is nothing but 2 into 2 raised to 3 rather. Now I need to have 2 to be raised to an odd power, because 3 plus an odd number is going to give us an even number, which will mean that this part is going to be a perfect square. And I also need to multiply this by some prime number raised to an even power. That is the least thing that I will need to do. Now what is the smallest odd power to which I can raise this? It will be 2 raised to 1. So 2 raised to 3 into 2 raised to 1 will give me 2 raised to 4. And what is the smallest prime number that I can raise to an even power? I can raise 3 to an even power, that is 2 itself. So I am going to get 2 2s are 4, 2s are 8, 2s are 16, and I am going to get 3 square, that is 9. So I am going to get 16 multiplied by 9 in this case, or in other words, I just have to figure out what this is, because this is going to be the number of students in the class. So I will ignore this 2 cube, I will just say 2 raised to 1 into 3 square. I am going to get my answer as 18, which will be the lowest number or the minimum number of students in this particular class. Let's look at the next question. Try this question. This has a very nice concept that is a very popular concept at the CAT as well. So do have a look at this particular question, try it out, and then you can have a look at the solution. So here the average weight of the students in 4 sections A, B, C and D is 60 kg. So all 4 sections together, the average weight is going to be 60 kg. The average weights of the students of A, B, C and D individually are 45, 50, 72 and 80. Now we know that the average weight of the students of section A and B. So let's write A and B like this, and you know where I'm going to going with this. I'm going to apply the allegation rule. Now the average weight of the students of section A and B is 48 kg. That is what has been mentioned to us, right? So 48 kg is going to be the average of these two classes. Now 48 is going to be the average once the mixture is formed. Now what is the average of the students of class A? It's 45. What about B? It's going to be 50. If the average is 48, what can we say about the ratio of the students in class A and class B? So 50 minus 48 is 2, 48 minus 45 is 3. So the ratio of the students in class A to class B is going to be 2:3. What is the other bit that we have here? We know that B and C together will have the average as 60 kg. Now again, I know that the average of students in class B is 50 and the average of students in class C is 72. So I'm going to get the gap between these two as 12, the gap between these two as 10, and that's why I'm going to be able to say that the ratio of these two, of the students in these two classes, is 6:5. I will also have to convert this 3 to a 6 purely because I have it here in the form of 6:5. So if this becomes 6, this becomes 4. So I know that if the number of students in classroom A is 4, the number of students in classroom B is 6, and the number of students in classroom C is 5, we are still fine. Let's say the number of students in classroom D is D itself. I need to figure out the ratio of the number of students in sections A and D. Now I know for sure that number of students in section A is going to be 4 and D is going to be something else. So more or less I can say that B is not my answer, but again it does not really affect our answer. So let's try to figure it out organically. So in this case, I know that 4 students are from A, 6 from B, 5 from C, and D students are from D. Now what will be the total weight of people from section A? It will be 45 into 4, which is going to be 180. What is the total weight of students from section B? 6 into 50, that is going to be 300. What about C? 5 into 72, that is going to be 360. And what about D? 80 times D. So this is the total weight of all the students that we have. How many students that do we have? 4 plus 6 plus 5, that is 15 plus D. So the total number of students is 15 plus D. Now if I add all the weights and divide it by the number of students, what I am going to get is the average weight, which is 60 itself. Now what I can do is I can just simplify this and try to figure out the value of D, and then I can use A and D to figure out our answer. Now in this particular case, I am going to have 360 plus 300, that is 660, 760, 860, so 840 plus 80D is going to be equal to 60 into 15 plus D. What we can do is we can cancel out a 0 very easily. So I'll just do that. I'll cancel out a 0 from all these 3 bits. I could have also cancelled out a 20, but it's fine. 80 and 8D we should be able to manage. So 84 plus 8D is going to be equal to 15 6s are 90 plus 6D. Now if I shuffle the terms, I am going to get 2D equals 90 minus 84, that is 6, or I'll get the value of D as 3. So what is the ratio of the students in A and D? The number of students in A in our example was 4. The number of students in D in our example was 3. So the answer is going to be option A, that is 4:3. Let's look at the next question. Try this question out. It's a very straightforward question, simple looking question, but you might make a mistake. That's why I thought I will add this. Try this out on your own and then have a look at the solution. You should not take more than a minute to solve this particular question. Now, one clue that we have right away is that there are no numbers. And because there are no numbers, it's very easy for us to assume numbers and solve it, because even the options don't really expect you to have any numerical data that is that should be there. It just expects you to give us a generic solution to this particular question. Find the difference between the average of the first n positive numbers. First n positive numbers, let's look at first 6 positive numbers. How many, or what are the first 6 even positive numbers? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. These are the first 6 positive even numbers. The average of all the positive even numbers up to n, which is 6. So I have to look at the average of all these numbers till here, and I have to look at the average of the first 6 even numbers, positive even numbers that we have. The average of these 6 even numbers is going to be exactly in the middle because they are spread apart evenly. So the average of these 6 numbers is going to be 7. What about the average of these 3 numbers? Again, it's going to be the middle number, that is 4. Now I know that if n is equal to 6, the difference between these two sets is going to be 7 minus 4 or 3. So let's see which option works best. 6 minus 1 divided by 2, 5 by 2 will not be the case. 6 plus 1, 7 by 2, 3.5, not the case. 6 by 2, 3, yes, this works. The only problem is that we have this none of these as the option. So if you are able to convincingly say that no, it is going to be n by 2, and if you take multiple cases, you should be fine. But if I were to tell you why is it n by 2, let's look at that bit as well. Let's say that we are looking at the first n positive even numbers. So I am starting with 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on till the time I reach 2n. That is what I am trying to do. Now what is the average of this sequence? The average of the sequence is going to be equal to last term plus first term divided by 2. So the average of the sequence, the first part that has been mentioned to us here, is going to be 2n plus 2 divided by 2, or it is going to be n plus 1. 2n plus 2, the entire thing divided by 2 is going to give us n plus 1 as the average of this sequence. I also have to figure out what is the average of the first n positive even numbers, or positive even numbers up to n. That is what we are looking at, right? So we are saying that the nth even number is going to be equal to 2n. So what happens if I just take the numbers till n and try to find their average? Again, it's very easy. The average of the second sequence is going to be n plus 2 divided by 2, because n is the last number of the sequence, 2 is the first number of the sequence. It is an arithmetic progression, so I am going to get this. Now I need to figure out the difference between these two. So I know that n plus 1 is present here, and here I am going to get n by 2 plus 1. What is the difference between these two? I just need to subtract. N minus n by 2 will give me n by 2. 1 minus 1 is going to get cancelled out. So my answer is of course going to be option C, that is n by 2. During the test, what you can do is you can just take an assumption, make an assumption regarding the value of n, try to figure it out if it works. If you are confused, take one more value of n, and if it is working in two cases, you should be fine. We also know that n is an even number, so even better. There is nothing to be worried about in this question once you get your answer as n by 2. Let's look at this question now. Very interesting question. Try this out on your own and then you can have a look at the solution that will follow. I was born 30 years after my father was born. My sister was born 25 years after my mother was born. The average age of my family is 26.25 years right now. My sister will go to the US to study 4 years from now. So after 4 years, my sister is going to go to the US to study. Then the average age of the family will be 107 by 3 years. Very nice number, 107 by 3. Some of you might feel bad about this because there is a 107 by 3 bit involved, but some of you will be very excited because there are 3 members and 107 by 3 is the average. That tells me what is the total of the ages of the 3 people or 3 members who would have stayed back in India. And we have to find out what is the present age of my father. That is what I need to do. Now it's very easy. If you look at it, if you understand this, it's fairly straightforward, right? Because there are 2 primary components and 2 secondary components. Now again, I'm not doing any ageist stuff here, but I'm saying there is a father, there is a mother, there is I, and there is a sister. These are the 4 people. Now I know the relation between the father and the individual who is talking here. I was born 30 years after my father. This basically means if my age is X, then my father's age is going to be X plus 30, because till 30 years, the age of the son was 0 or the daughter was 0, and then 30 years is the advantage that the father has in terms of age. In terms of the mother, if you look at it, my sister was born 25 years after my mother was born. So if the age of the sister is Y, the age of the mother becomes Y plus 25. Now you need not do all these things, I'm just telling you what it looks like. Now this is basically something which is the present situation as well, because the gap between 2 individuals is never going to change if one is elder or younger to the other person. The average age of my family is 26.25. So what can we say about the total age of the family? Now because there are 4 members that have been mentioned here, the total age is going to be 26.25 into 4, which is going to be 26 into 4, that is 104, plus 0.25 into 4, that is 1. So 104 plus 1 is going to be 105. So the total of these ages is going to be 105. We know that after 4 years, my sister is going to go to the US to study. Then the average age of the family will be 107 by 3 years. Now to understand that if one person goes away and there are 3 people left and their average is 107 by 3, we can say that the total of these 3 people 4 years from now is going to be equal to 107. Because something divided by 3 gives me the average, but we know that the average is 107 divided by 3. So I know that the total of these 3 becomes 107. What else do I know? Now I know that after 4 years, what is going to happen? Everybody is going to grow older by 4 years. So what is the present status? -4, -4 and -4. So in other words, if the sum of the ages of these people at a later point in time is going to be 107, let's say, what is the sum of the ages of these three people today? They would be 12 years younger cumulatively, because the father would be younger by 4 years, mother would be younger by 4 years, and I would be younger by 4 years. So 107 minus 12 is going to be equal to 95. So today this combination totals up to 95, which means that this person should contribute the remaining 10 years. So I can say with certainty that the age of the sister is 10 years, which means that the age of the mother is going to be 35 years, because 10 plus 25 is 35, which basically tells me that the ages of the father and the son will add up to 35 plus 10 is going to give me 45. 105 minus 45 is going to give me a 60, which basically tells me that 2x is equal to 30 or x is equal to 15. So that basically tells me that the present age of my father is going to be 45 years. What you can do here is you can also look at the options and try to figure it out, because let's say the age of my father is 30 years and I was born 30 years after my father was born. That makes my age 0. So I cannot say that this is my answer. If my father is 35 years old, I will become 5 years old at this point in time. And again, I will be able to say that my sister was born 25 years after my mother was born. So that tells me that the sum of y and y plus 25, 2y plus 25 is going to be equal to 105 minus 35, that is 70. Or I will get 2y equals 45, which will give me y equals 22.5 and so on. So I will be able to just calculate everything and figure out what happens. The average age, or after 4 years, if you look at it, the total will not come to 107 if you go with this logic, and that is what will make it slightly difficult. And that is where you will have to look at all the options and then figure out that 45 is our answer. It's not a difficult question once you know how to make these equations and solve it. So just try to make this equation, solve it, and you should be fine. Let's look at the next one. Now we have a set of questions that we have with a common data point. So just look at the data on your left and then see if you can manage the question that is present on your right. Now, India is supposed to send its boxing team for Olympics in each of the following 10 weight group divisions, and the weight group divisions are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and they range from 48 to 52, which is division A, 52 to 56, which is division B, and so on and so forth. We are not very sure whether 52 will be counted in division A or division B, but that is beyond the point of the question, right? So let's look at the last part as well. After selecting one player from each group, their average weight comes out to be 68 kg. So if you select one player from each group, your average becomes 68 kg. If one of the players named X leaves the team, their average weight comes down to 66.5 kg. So the average weight of 10 people is 68, the average weight of the remaining 9 people is 66.5. We have to figure out what was the age or the weight of the 10th individual. So the total is going to be 68 into 10, that is 680. And what is going to be the total weight of the 9 people who are left after X has left the team? It's going to be 9 into 5, that is 45. So 4 will be as it is. 9 sixes are 54 plus 4, that is 58. And 9 sixes are 54 plus 5, that is 59. So I am going to get 598.5. Now the gap between these two will tell us what was the weight of player X, and the weight will be very easy to find out. 680 and 598, so 82 minus 0.5 is going to be 81.5. So player X had its weight as 81.5. So this person should be from the group I, because I is the one wherein you have 80 to 84 kg as the range that is present. Let's look at the next question. Similar data point, we have to just figure out what is happening here. If X leaves the team and 2 new players join the group, then their average weight increases to 68 kg. Now these players can be from the group which one? Now we know that there is one person who will go away, and because of that the weight is coming down to 66.5 kg. We have already seen that the weight of X was 81.5 kg. Now if X were 81.5 kg, we would have been fine. But what is happening here is 2 people are joining this particular group, which means one person is going away, 2 people are joining. There are 11 people whose average weight is now 68 kg. Now if 68 is the average of 11 people, what is going to be the total weight of these 11 people? It's going to be 68 into 11, or you can just do a bit of magic here. 8 will be as it is. 6 plus 8 is 14. 4 will go here. 6 plus 1 is 7. So 748 is going to be the total weight of these 11 individuals. Now we know that the weights of the 9 individuals was 66.5 into 9, which is what we had seen earlier. And 66.5 into 9 is going to give us, again we can do this, we would have got 9 5s are 45, 9 6s are 54, plus 4 is 58, 9 6 are 54, plus 5 is 59. So 598.5. Now this is what we already have, and this is where we have reached, which basically tells us that the total of the weights of the 2 individuals who have joined now is going to be equal to 148 plus 1.5 or 149.5. Now we have to just look at the options. These players can be from the group A and C. Now if you look at groups A and C, the maximum weight of someone from A is 52, the maximum weight of someone from C is 60. Total will be 112 at most, but we need the total to be 149.5. So this is not my answer. What about D plus J? The maximum weight of someone from block D or division D is going to be 64, and the maximum weight of someone from division J is going to be 88. 88 plus 64 is comfortably going to give us 152. So definitely 149.5 is going to be possible. If both the people are from G, then the total weight can be 76 plus 76, that is 152. So even this is possible, and because of which we will go with option D, that is either 2 or 3. So either these players can be from the group D, J, or both of them can be from this group G that we have. Now this is the last question from the common information that we have here. The question is fairly straightforward. What is the average weight in kg of all the players taken together? So if you take all the players who are there, and then you try to figure out what exactly is the average weight, then you will be able to get the answer. But the problem here is that we know that if we select one player from each group, their average weight comes out to be 68 kg. But how many players are going to participate in this particular competition? We don't know. So for all practical purposes, let's say for example, Division A had 2 players that were there. We don't know what the weight of these 2 players is going to be. We don't know how many players are there overall, because of which we will not be able to determine the answer to this particular question. So the correct answer here is going to be option D, that is cannot be determined. Now look at this question. It's a very interesting question. Try it out and then you can have a look at the solution that will follow. We are talking about a shipping clerk who has to weigh 6 distinct packets. Now, this particular shipping clerk weighs them 4 at a time, weighing all the possible combinations of the packets from the 6. The average weight of all the combinations is found to be 500 grams. What is the combined weight of all the 6 packets? Now we are trying to figure out the average of combinations. Now there are 6 distinct packets that are there, and he weighs them 4 at a time, which means that how many combinations will be possible? I have to choose any 4 out of 6, which means that there are 6C4 ways to do this, and with a bit of practice you will be able to do this very quickly. It is going to be 6 into 5 divided by 2, which is going to be 15 combinations. Now there are 15 combinations available, and each combination has 4 packets, which means that how many times are all the packets going to appear in one combination? There are 4 packets appearing, so in 50 combinations there are going to be 60 packets that are going to appear, which basically means that each packet is going to appear 10 times. Why? Because there are 6 distinct packets, and cumulatively there are 60 appearances of packets that are going to be there. So each packet will appear 10 times. That is what is happening here across these combinations. So if we call these packets A, B, C, D, E, F, then the total of all the combinations is going to be 10 times A plus 10 times B plus 10 times C plus 10 times D plus 10 times E plus 10 times F. The combination of these 6 is going to be 500 into the number of combinations, because there are 15 combinations and the average is 500. So this is going to be 15 into 500. So I will be able to say that A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F, I will be able to cancel out a 0 from the right hand side and the left hand side. I will be left with 15 into 50, which is going to be 750. So the total of all the 6 packets is going to be 750 grams, which is option C here. Now, if you look at this particular question, you will be able to get it very easily. You just have to apply weighted averages here. So try this out and then have a look at the solution. A mixture of liquids A and B contains 70% of B by weight. liquid C is added till the final solution contains 12% by weight of A. You have to figure out what is the ratio of B to C in the final mixture. So we have to figure out how much of C is added basically. Now let's say for example, it was 100 ml mixture that we had initially, 70% of B was there. So let's say there was 70 ml of B is present and there is 30 ml of A that is going to be present. Now what we are doing here is we are adding C till the time the final solution contains 12% by weight of A. Now what does this mean? It means that 30 will be as it is. The amount that is there of liquid A will remain as it is. But now this is going to be 12% of the final solution. If 12% of the final solution is this, what can we say is 100% of the final solution? Now we will be able to get this by cross multiplication. If 12 parts correspond to 30, then 100 parts correspond to what? So I'll be able to get this as 100 into 30 divided by 12. 6 2s are 12, 6 5s are 30. You will be able to cancel this and you'll be getting a 50. 50 into 5 gives me a 250, which means that the final solution is of 250 ml. Now what does that mean? 30 ml was liquid A, 70 ml was liquid B, which means that liquid C will have to occupy the remaining 150 ml. So what does this tell me about the ratio of the weight of B to C in the final mixture? B will be 70 ml and C will be 150 ml, which means that the ratio will be 7:15. Can you do something else here? Of course, you can also look at the options and you can try to figure out what exactly is happening, because you know that we have to find the ratio of B to C. I know that the value of B is 7 and that's why my first part has to be 7 in some context. So I am torn between these two options. But if I say 7:15, what does it mean? If 7:15 is what I am looking at, I am saying that, okay, I am adding 150 ml of C into the mixture, and that is basically how it's going to pan out. It's going to tell us that now the amount of A is 30 out of 250, which is 12%, which makes sense. But if I say that I am going to add 250 ml of C, then the overall mixture will become 350 ml, and 30 out of 350 is definitely not 12%. And that is basically why you will choose option A as your answer, and that is good enough. The other way of doing this would have been to look at the concentration of A. Now the concentration of A in the first mixture is 30 because 30% of it is A. In the second mixture, the concentration of A is 0 because you are only adding C to it. But the combination of these two gives me 12 as the amount of A that is present in the overall mixture. Now if you look at this using alligation rule, you are going to get a 12 here, you are going to get an 18 here. You know that the ratio is going to be 2:3. What does this mean? If this were 2 parts, then this becomes 3 parts. But we know that this was 100 ml to start with, because the first mixture that we had was 100 ml. If this is 100 ml, this automatically becomes 150 ml. And because the entire thing is C, we know that we have 70 ml of B and 150 ml of C, which will again give us 7:15 as the answer to this particular question.